Hey party people, and welcome to another question of the day video. Hit that thumbs up button if you want me to continue with these fashion, education, and industry real talk videos. Okay. The question of the day for this video is, what do you learn in fashion school? A couple of disclaimers. Number one, my experience is US based. My supposition is that most international programs generally are similar in what they study. They'll be different, the small details of how they study things and approaches will be different. But I think in general, the curriculums are very similar. But my experience is US based. Disclaimer number two, I speak in broad strokes, in generalities. Okay? If you have a specific question for a specific school, you should contact that school because they're the ones who are going to know. I don't know the nitty-gritty of every single program. And disclaimer number three, I do not speak on behalf of any school. This video is not sponsored. I am not representing any school. Back to the question. In the US, if you want to earn a BFA, that's a Bachelors of Fine Arts, that is your undergraduate degree. Okay? Your graduate degree is your Masters of Fine Arts. Okay? If you want to earn a BFA, your classes must be 2/3 studio credits and 1/3 liberal arts credits. Now, studio credits are your typical, drawing and sewing and, designing classes. And your liberal arts courses are your English, art history, cultural anthropology, those sorts of courses where it's a lot of reading, writing, analysis sort of thing. Okay, so let's cover these studio courses first. Number one, design class. Now, keep in mind that this video goes over a fashion design program. I don't know the particulars of a fashion merchandising program or, textile design program, right? Fashion design. So we have design classes and, there's going to be, like most programs, 6 to 8 design classes. Okay, it's usually structured under like a 4-year program or an 8-semester program, regardless of how long it actually takes someone to finish the course. Lots of people take longer, whether because they're working or they had to take a semester, whatever, it doesn't matter. You do you go at the pace you need, but the structure is typically an 8-semester structure. So because it's an 8-semester structure, you might, some programs will have you taking some kind of design class every semester. The program I went to, every freshman took the same core classes. And it didn't matter whether you were going to study ceramics or fashion. We all took, figure drawing. We all took composition. We all took color theory, like that. And then we didn't start taking fashion classes till sophomore year. And so we had 6 design classes. So different schools, different ways, but basically 6 to 8 design classes on average. One of those classes might be a portfolio prep class, like in the last year of your studies. Yeah, every school is going to teach design in their own way. Okay? And the process is going to be slightly different, the approach and the emphasis, some schools really emphasize creativity and really pushing yourself. Some schools are going to emphasize, more wearable clothes so you can go right into an industry job. In these design classes, regardless the approach and, the emphasis, it's all, research, inspiration, putting together mood boards, putting together color stories, fabrics. You design 250 things and you edit them down. And those things you learn in any design program, regardless of how exactly you do it, because that's what you do in the industry. Okay, and like I always say, any idiot can design one nice dress. But designers, they design lots and lots and lots of dresses over and over and over again, and then they edit them down to well merchandised collections. If you wanted to mimic fashion school, and you watched my fashion design process series, and you're like, I did the series, and I followed along, and I did a project just like you with the mood boards and the fabric board and, my figures and my flats. I'm ready to be a designer. No. 6 to 8 classes, 2 to 3 design projects per semester. You're looking at 15 to 25 design projects before you can say you mimic the BFA. Each time you do a design project, that's like the whole process from researching inspiration all the way to finishing your flats, You're going to do that 15 to 25 times, and each time you do it, you're going to do it slightly faster. And hopefully slightly better. Number 2, illustration. Okay. Every designer needs to learn how to draw. Not every designer needs to be a beautiful illustrator. However, they do need to learn how to sketch and communicate design ideas with other people. Okay. It's a basic. And like seriously, if you suck at drawing, focus on flats. You're going to be drawing more flats in the industry than figures. The reason why we learn figures is to put together amazing portfolios so we can even get a job, right? It's like those beginning skill sets to work your way to more advanced positions. Beautiful illustration starts conversations. Okay, that's a direct quote from someone I respect. And it's true. People like looking at pretty things. Flats, okay, look, when you're a fashion geek, a clothing geek like I am, beautiful flats are like, what? That's awesome. We get all into it. The average person, including HR people, they want to look at pretty dresses on pretty people. That's just how it is. And so it's like this. Every skill set you have makes you a better designer, a better candidate for that job. Okay? And so, you don't need to be a beautiful illustrator, but every single thing you get better at will help you, including illustration. But flats are more important than figures in the industry. So in the classes, you'll have multiple drawing and illustration classes. You'll probably start with like a basic figure drawing class where you're not elongating the body, but just studying the body and gesture and movement and poses. And some programs don't elongate the figure at all. Some programs don't like the 10 head. Whatever, everyone has their preference. How many illustration classes depends on the program and how much emphasis they put on that. Number 3, construction. That includes pattern making, cutting, sewing, draping, tailoring. You're less likely to learn digital pattern making and grading, like more industrial practices, unless you're going for a more technical degree. There are schools out there that offer a technical designer degree, so you can go into that field. In design programs, the construction classes are more focused towards teaching students process to help them become better designers. Because most of the time, unless you're starting your own company, we could talk about that in a later video if you want, but most of the time, you're not going to be the one sewing. Okay, you'll have sample makers. However, you need to have that knowledge so you can critique the work, you can assess, you can pay an appropriate amount of money for, the quality of work. You can understand construction concepts to really help you design. The more you know about, the technical aspect of design, whether it's, how a fabric moves or drapes or gets stitched up, or what kind of seams would be better on a specific fabric, or what are your hem options for this kind of skirt and this kind of fabric, like that all helps your design process. So you don't have to be, the best at, a baby roll hem. Thank God, because I am so bad at baby roll hems. But you have to know how to do it. You have to know how it works. You have to know what a good one looks like. You have to know which one is the face and which one is the back. Like, you have to know these things. Okay. So those are the 3 course sets. Okay, because you're gonna have multiple construction classes, multiple illustration, and multiple design classes throughout the program. Okay, just learning new things, increasing difficulty, and faster deadlines. Now, there are a bunch of other courses that, of course, depending on where you go to school, will be included, like art and costume history. Like almost every program will require you to take art and costume history, or art or costume history courses. Okay, one of my liberal arts electives was a Hollywood costume history course where we got to learn all about the golden age of Hollywood costume, and it was wonderful. You'll also have computer-aided design courses where you will learn how to use Photoshop and Illustrator and maybe other programs that are similar. In this day and age, I cannot emphasize to you how important it is to know Illustrator and Photoshop. Okay, Illustrator is for flats, and I just talked about how flats are so important as a designer, working designer. And Photoshop is for photo manipulation and mood boards and, you know, all kinds of stuff, right? Collaging. When I was going to school, and that was the beginning for that program, the beginning of when Illustrator courses were starting to become required. And I went in there kicking and screaming. I did not want to learn it. I think one of my Illustrator teachers watches my channel sometimes. I totally loved your class, by the way. No, she knows. She knows. No, I learned some, and I moved into the industry, and then the learning curve was crazy because I learned the bare minimum in class to, you know, get by. But then when I got into the industry, oh my God, I had to learn it, and I just lied. I was like, yeah, I can do that totally. And that was before you could Google tutorials on everything. Okay, you had to figure it out. And so, you know, my boss would be like, do you know Illustrator? I'm like, yes. And that's not a lie because I knew it. And then she would give me this crazy Illustrator project. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to figure that out. I'm going to figure that out. So you have to. You want to be a working designer in the industry, you have to learn Illustrator and Photoshop. And then you'll have some sort of apparel manufacturing practices, courses. You know, some programs they'll have one, some programs you'll have more. I wish more programs had more of these courses, okay? Because there's so much out there to cover. You know, some focus on sourcing, costing, you know, some discuss production, you know, some touch on a little bit of everything. There's so much out there where you need to know about it and be aware of it as a designer, even if you're not an expert. And then many programs will have a textile design or textile science class. What is the difference? Well, textile design focuses more on surface design, developing prints, developing different, you know, working with like, you know, shibori dyeing or batik or like different techniques, silk screening, you know, and there's a lot of like designing and graphic design and layout and repeats and all that. And then textile science is more like, you know, learning about the different qualities of different fibers like cotton. If you make something out of cotton, it will behave like this. And if you make something out of silk, it will behave like this. And then these are the different kinds of weaves and these are the different kinds of knits. And BFAs, as I mentioned before, also require liberal studies, sometimes called liberal arts and sciences. These are your language courses, so English if you live in an English-speaking country like the US. Art and costume history, as I mentioned before. Social sciences like cultural anthropology, where you study different cultures, different tribes, and study their behavior and why they behave the way they do. A lot of art school students, not just fashion students, but art school students in general, I find tend not to take these liberal arts classes very seriously. It becomes like a last priority, even if it is a priority. But I genuinely think that taking these classes seriously is to your benefit. Language courses are always important because not sounding like a moron in professional emails will always be a good thing. Research, analysis, and essay writing in history and anthropology courses will help you be better at visual research for your design projects. Because sometimes they'll require to write a blurb. And so you're researching your visual research for inspiration, you're pulling images, you're analyzing what you're seeing, which is a lot of what you learn in art history. You learn how to see things. Okay? And then you write something based off of your visual research. Okay? Those are some of those basic skills start in your art history courses. When I was in school, we had independent study courses available. And a lot of schools have this option where you could do an independent study with one teacher. And I planned a liberal arts independent study course with a teacher that I really enjoyed learning from. And I studied extremes in fashion. Okay? And so I read, researched, and wrote all these essays on Chinese foot binding, on corsetry, on the intersection of sexual and fashion fetishes. You know, I had a great time studying all these like kind of offshoots that you don't really get in depth in classes. Make it work for you. Okay, pick the classes that you think will benefit you. Just like your studio courses, liberal arts classes, they'll be different school to school. So again, if you have specific questions, contact the school. That's the basics for, the curriculum. Whether you need to go to school to have a successful career in fashion is a whole nother video, and do drop me a comment below if you want me to shoot that video. And subscribe for more industry talk videos. Hit that notification bell because apparently YouTube works on a 2-step system now. Drop me any questions that you have in the comment section below, and I will see you in the next video.